Is this thing working? Is it working? Someone told me it's working. Is this working? Can someone tell me if this is working? If like my audio and everything is good? Hello? Guys, can someone please tell me if this is working? Yeah? Can you hear me? Oh my gosh. Hi! Okay, it's working. It's working. Awesome. Hi guys. So today I'm doing a Facebook Live as promised. Just ask me any questions. It's been a crazy couple of weeks for me, obviously, with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, then the Daily Mail article, and then the whole abuse thing, and then I released my book. And yeah. Oh, thank you. So yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks. June has definitely been one. June 2020 has definitely been one for me to remember. But I hope everyone is good, and just start asking me questions when you're ready. Awesome. Get on with it. Alright. Any questions? Hi. Hi is not a question. Any questions, guys? Okay. Why has Turning Point appealed to who? What's your thought on China and Hong Kong? I think what's going on in Hong Kong is horrific. It's really, really sad. This is something that I personally take an interest in because I did study China to quite an extent at university. I have a degree in politics and French, and Asian politics was something that I focused on specifically for a while. I don't think it's surprising though. I mean, China has wanted to really I suppose influence the upcoming Hong Kong generation for a while. Hong Kong will eventually become fully part of China, and it's in the CCP's interest to kind of acclimatize the upcoming generation with basically lack of political and personal freedoms. So I think this is something that was always going to happen. I think the international community has a responsibility to put a lot of pressure on China, especially economically. The CCP is not a beast that's getting smaller. It's not a beast that's getting broker. It's kind of hedging its bets and creating insurance policies for its own survival. And I think the international community has a responsibility to respond to that. Beautiful eyes, big eyes. Look at my massive eyes. I literally look like an owl. Okay, next question. When do you think the economy will be running again? I'll be honest, not for a few years. I think people really underestimate the kind of damage that's been done to the economy because of this whole lockdown and the amount of money we're borrowing to even fund the furlough scheme. You have to understand the UK doesn't really produce much. I mean, in terms of services, we're second in the world to only the US, right? The UK has a large service industry, but that doesn't kind of bode for the rest of the country, right? You can't just have an economy based on, providing services. You need to actually produce stuff. I don't think the British economy is going to be really getting its stride for the next few years. There's going to have to be a lot of restructuring done. We're going to need to get Brexit out of the way and see what kind of opportunities being part of a global community once again as a free trader will present the country. But definitely I don't think the British economy will be in good stead for a few years. I'm sorry I don't follow you. What's your book? My book is called Graduating into Adulthood. I'm pretty sure there's a link on the Turning Point UK page if you scroll down, and on my Twitter as well. And it's basically everything that I wanted to know. I should have known, and I wanted to know from like 17 to 25. I'm only 24 anyway. But it's a guide for young adults. It covers everything from getting a job, whether you should go to university, whether it's the right choice for you, doing a gap year, going on an internship, managing your personal finances, relationships, health, all the rest of it. And it's very much my take on things because I'm quite witty and funny and blunt, and so it's definitely my perspective on things for sure. Deal or No Deal? I don't really watch that show. What do you think of Black Lives Matter? I think Black Lives Matters. Now people are finally waking up that it's not really for black anybody, really. It's just a Marxist organization that's weaponizing minorities to its goals, and I don't support it. I find it offensive that anyone thinks black people are so stupid that we wouldn't be able to see through it, especially when it's published on their website. Like, you have dismantle capitalism, abolish the police, and destroy the traditional family on their website. Did they not think anyone would click? Like, it's ridiculous. Oh, your new book is amazing. Thank you, Charlie. Oh, you read it. That's so nice. Thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Right, guys, grab it. It's on offer as well on my Twitter, Esther K_K, I think. It's a weird name. I didn't put my full name on Twitter because no one ever says it right. How do you think we tackle fatherless homes within the UK? First of all, we need to start bringing back some traditional values. We need to put a break on this whole men are trash sort of movement. I don't even understand where it comes from. I understand that I speak from a privileged perspective because I grew up in a two-parent home, a Christian home in Ghana. I've had quite a traditional, very blessed upbringing. I've always had a very strong father figure in my life. Like, my dad, my brother, my mom, they're like my best friends. I think we need to start bringing back some family values. I don't see the point of, constantly bashing men and then expecting them to take their responsibility as husbands and fathers. I do subscribe to a rather orthodox view of the family. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Christian. And so I do think, yeah, the man is the head of the household and stuff like that. People may think that's a bit maudlin and not really down in 2020 or whatever, but I do think there's benefits to having a traditional family structure. That's what I saw, that's what I knew, that's how I've turned out the way that I have, and my brother as well. And I think my parents did an amazing job. I think having a lot of responsibility with no authority is indentured servitude, and I don't think any man wants to subscribe to that. I think the emasculation of the West is just ridiculous. Honestly, it's so sad and so pathetic. And I think everyone now thinks that speaking up for men, or speaking up for especially white cis men, means you're threatened by, I don't know, women, ethnic minorities, whatever. And I'm just like, no, I'm seeing lunacy going on. And it's funny, I understand that I don't get cancelled for this stuff, like this kind of stuff immediately because I'm a black woman. Like, what are you going to call me, racist and sexist? But I think it's important that someone speaks up, because there are generations that are going to be affected. There are generations of kids that are not going to know what it's like to have a strong father figure. We already know what fatherlessness does to society as a whole. I think we need to start thinking of raising healthy, well-balanced kids in society, and that's the only way to do it. I think we need to start bringing back a lot of traditional family values. I don't see why some women are shamed for being like housewives, for instance. Like, what do you mean? Like, there is no more pride in being a housewife than being like a CEO of a company. Everyone plays their part. So yeah, I think we definitely need to get back to that. Who do you think is behind the anti-Semitism in Black Lives Matter? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that organization doesn't even have like leaders, like very tangible leaders. Like, I couldn't tell you who one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter was. And what people need to realize is that Black Lives Matter, especially in the UK, it came on our radar in like 2016 when a few of those crazies were blocking a route to Heathrow Airport, and they got arrested because they were disturbing the peace. They were just a fringe, weird organization. Everyone, the fight for racial equality and just equality in general was already ongoing. There are organizations for like the Premier League to tackle racism and anti-racism in society as a whole. Black Lives Matter in the UK started off as a weird fringe movement that was like blocking routes to airports. The fact that they've been able to jump on this bandwagon, especially after what's been going on in the US, to take root in the UK it's just shocking. It's just shocking. But yeah, that's where they started out, and I hope people remember that. And bear that in mind next time they call me a traitor or whatever. Hong Kong people are not going to submit easily. I hope not. I really, really hope not. But I think this is where the international community really has to step up. I don't think, personally, giving 3 million Hong Kong citizens access to the UK is the best solution. This is a small, densely populated island of 67 million people. There are many Western countries that share similar values with the UK. You know, I think the US might want to step up. Australia, you know, they're not particularly densely populated areas. France, for instance. But yeah, I don't really think Boris's move to like put such a huge burden on the UK is very fair. You can't just make a move like that without. I mean, how did that work for Angela Merkel when she imported over 1 million immigrants to Germany, right? So, what are your thoughts on the fact Prince Andrew is a beast and the media is desperately trying to draw the attention to Epstein's girlfriend? I think Prince Andrew has a lot of questions to answer. I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't really know the ins and outs of the case. I think it's unwise to make comments, especially based on just what the media is saying. But I do think that the fact that he has publicly admitted that he was close friends with Jeffrey Epstein, there are pictures of him with Epstein, even after he was arrested and charged for, what was it, like, sleeping with an underage prostitute, like, that really wouldn't be my friend anymore. But, you know, he has questions to answer, basically. Isn't it funny the way all Black Lives Matter are backing away now that they understand? I know, right? I was like, oh, you people owe me an apology. You owe me 5 goats, 6 cows, and a golden stool because they put me through hell. But yeah, I think this is why it's important to stand your ground and to not back down easily. Because I knew in my heart that I was doing it in the interest of the people that Black Lives Matter claims to protect, and in the interest of everyone in general, and in the interest of people that give an opinion and they're called racist. Right, so I'm really happy people are waking up, definitely. Do you think marijuana should be legal for personal use, or do you believe it should stay illegal? Do what you want. I don't care. Personally, I think smoking weed is dumb. I don't like the smell. I don't think it helps anything. Some people say it helps with creativity. That's their own thing. I have friends who are artists and who are creatives that they say, you know, weed helps. I can only think of one use of weed that's helpful or fun, and it's not for creativity. But I'm personally not fond of it. I don't think you should curtail someone's rights for it. But I do think there needs to be a shift in societal values and the conversation we're having in society, because we don't talk enough about health. We don't talk enough about public health. Like, I think it's, for instance, like the NHS. We throw a lot of money at the NHS, and everyone, like, even Corbyn ran a campaign saying, oh, the Tories want to sell the NHS. Like, the NHS has become this golden calf. And I'm like, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at the NHS. We have to talk about health from a holistic perspective. We need to be more preventative instead of just reactionary, which is what the NHS is. We need to tell people to stop getting drunk 3 times a week, passing out, using a slice of pizza as a pillow, with your bum sticking out on the floor on a Saturday night. We need to talk about healthy living, eating organic food, eating real food, not stuffing your face with Greggs and horrible stuff that's just gonna, you know, make you age quicker and make you feel horrible about your body. So yeah, I do think you should do what you want with your body, but I think we should have a different approach to healthcare. Which university did you attend? Bristol University. Do you think we'll get a trade deal with the EU? I don't really want to comment, because I think anything I say right now, it will be pointless. I hope we get some sort of trade deal, not just for our sakes, but for the sake of the EU. I think if we don't, the EU will have a lot of like answering to do to its member states as to why they didn't allow the EU to have a deal with the UK, right? I think it's one thing to explain something to a unity, like a polity like the UK. It's another thing to explain to 26 other member states why you didn't get a deal from one of the second largest trading partner in the EU. So, British blacks should all come out and declare the truth about Black Lives Matter. Yeah, we have. I generally think people are finally starting to wake up. At least it didn't take too long. But this is an organisation that's managed to get over £1 million in funding to do what exactly? To try and dismantle capitalism and abolish the police. This is the danger of jumping on a bandwagon and not doing your due diligence. I know people that were accused of being racist because they didn't put a black square on their Instagram, right? And I'm just like, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. It's a black square. People are just quick to jump on bandwagons. Given your degree in politics, would you ever join any of the main parties? Absolutely not. Never. I enjoy being on the outside and being a commentator. And I enjoy writing. I think I'm just going to stick to that. Are you in favour of a sensible immigration policy and deportation of all foreign criminals? Definitely deportation of all foreign criminals. I really don't understand how you can make a case to British taxpayers to pay for foreign criminals. That is hilarious. Like, no. Are you in favour of a sensible immigration policy? Yes, absolutely. And I think this is one of the confusions about Brexit. So people were like, oh, Brexit voters were racist. And I'm like, first of all, most of the people in the EU are white, right? Secondly, Brexit vote, like, for instance, black people or ethnic minority groups in the UK that voted for Brexit found themselves as sort of effectively a minority within a minority, because it's like you want to protect your interests as well. Unfettered immigration, which was one of the main key issues of being in the EU and of the Brexit debate, is not good for immigrants generally, because they tend to be on the lower end of the socioeconomic strata in this country. And on the flip side, why shouldn't a Ghanaian doctor, for instance, have access to or the ability to work in the UK because, you know, priority is given to a Polish bricklayer? I think the spirit of Brexit is to open up to the world. I think it's the most anti-immigration stance, actually, and I think people need to start waking up to that and listen to people a bit more. Marriage material. Oh, thank you. I do hope to get married soon. Yeah. Nice big Ghanaian wedding. Ah! Okay, You're explaining how it feels to be me. What, a minority within a minority? Yeah, trust me. Story of my life. F the CCP. I'm with you there. Why do the left want to frame BAME members as victims, which creates a false dependency? I don't understand. Oh, I mean, I get it. Like, it's political currency. You know, if you can keep pointing at a group that you consider an underclass or a victim, yeah, a victim underclass, you can use that to basically win seats and sit in Westminster. I think that's a lot of immigrants, a lot of people from ethnic minority backgrounds are actually a lot more religious than people, and not just religious, more conservative than people think. I think the Tories need to start making a stronger case as to why these groups of people need to take the Tories a bit more seriously and not just kind of go with the idea that anyone who votes for the Conservative Party is racist. I think people, when given the opportunity, people thrive. People just want opportunities, right? If you're given the opportunities, whatever happens is on you, because you've been given a chance. You've been given access to something that would help you thrive. I don't believe that everyone deserves every good thing under the sun. I think we actually need to have a conversation about strengthening social ties in this country. We need to start strengthening the family. We need to start strengthening community activism. We need to start strengthening institutions like the church and things that bring people together other than the government. I don't trust the government with anything. And I think the fact that we've increasingly normalized a conversation where we place a lot more responsibility on the government to solve a lot of social issues is extremely uncomfortable for me. I always say that in Ghana, for instance, I could never be homeless because I have family I can depend on, and it's not just like my immediate family. I have nuclear family, and it's social bonds in many African countries and many parts of the third world are very, very strong, because that sense of community doesn't come from the government. It comes from within the community. You know, in the UK, you can be on benefits, you can become an alcoholic, go on drugs, literally fall by the wayside, and if your family's nowhere to be found, you're literally depending body and soul on the government, and that's not what makes a human being human. That's not what makes you a whole person. That's not what makes you someone who's able to function correctly in society and become a well-adjusted member of society. I think we need to start talking a lot more about family and a lot more about social ties. Definitely. Hong Kong people are pretty smart and educated. I'm not saying that. I actually know a lot of people from Hong Kong, and especially my school. One of my roommates was from Hong Kong. I know a lot of people from Hong Kong. They're some of the most intelligent, open-minded, funny, fun people you ever meet. But the UK is very crowded. I mean, we voted to leave the EU mainly based on immigration, right? I don't think just kind of ushering 3 million people into the country is a very wise move. Do you think it's ironic that Black Lives Matter don't care that Kung Flu Kung flu affects black ethnic minorities more than anyone else. Yeah, this is the thing that I found ridiculous. Like, you're going out to protest in the tens of thousands during a pandemic to talk about how much you love black people, even though you're putting black people's lives at risk by going out in the tens of thousands. And I'm the uncaring one. I'm the person that hates black people. Like, I just think we've lost our minds. I was against the protest from day one. You know, we have people standing in front of policemen shouting, "Don't shoot," and I'm like, he's carrying a baton. British police officers don't regularly carry firearms. It's just ridiculous, honestly. What is your view on abortion, Conrad? You asked it. Okay, so I'm pro-life, definitely. 1 in 4 pregnancies in the UK are terminated, as in aborted. I think that's something that people should recognize and remember. No matter what stance you're on, right? No matter how much you say use protection or whatever, 1 in 4 pregnancies in the UK are aborted. 1 in 4. That's a whole generation of people that don't get to exist fully as human beings that are functioning and walking and all the rest of it. I'm personally pro-life. I think we need to start having a more serious conversation about abortion in this country. I'm very disheartened that a lot of, like, over 90% of the cases or the reasons for people have abortions is because of inconvenience or it was an accident or whatever. Like, we need to start telling young people that sex wasn't made for your convenience. Sex is something that happens to all animals in the animal kingdom. It is the main function of sex is to reproduce. If you have sex and you haven't even talked to the person you're having sex with or considered the possibility that you might get pregnant, you probably shouldn't be having sex. I think just having that conversation would go a long way in dropping figures. I think a lot of new feminist movements have kind of weaponized the conversation around abortion. They're saying, oh, men don't get a voice. And I'm like, well, it takes 2 to tango. If men don't get a voice, then they shouldn't have to pay child support either, right? They want their cake and to eat it too. And I don't subscribe to that. It's not something that I'm willing to even engage in. So yeah. Are you concerned about potential World Trade Organization trade with the EU? Not really. Secretly, I have a feeling that they'll come around, especially if the EU wants to continue existing as the EU. If you poll a lot of countries within the EU at the moment, there's a huge anti-EU sentiment. Not amongst the ruling class, but definitely amongst normal citizens. There's definitely a kind of, especially with this plague that's come upon us and the fact that a lot of countries are going to be in economic hardship, we need trade more than ever. We need interregional trade more than ever. You'd find it very hard to justify why you let the UK crash out of the EU without a deal. What's your view of the current Labour leadership? Similar to my view of the old one. Terrible. Look at the size of the spider on your wall. You know damn well there's no spider on my wall, isn't there? Yeah, there's no spider on my wall. Why is every societal ill nowadays framed through the prism of race rather than accepting that we're all humans and that society is inherently competitive? Yeah, so this is another reason why I subscribe. We compete against each other for all the good things in life. Yeah, this is another reason why I subscribe to conservative ideology. I don't have the kumbaya rosy view of human nature that a lot of people on the left and very far left have, of like, we're all willing and cooperative. We are, but we also have a negative side, right? I just think we need to talk about, I think we need to get to the point where the government can say, we cannot do anything here. This is the individual's cross to bear, right? I think if we're able to get to the point where the government can say, actually, we really should step back here because there's nothing we can do. I think that's when we'll make a huge we'll make a bit more headway. I don't think it's the government's responsibility to deal with everything. I think we need to start talking about individual responsibility a lot. And that's another reason why I think Turning Point and the work I'm doing with Turning Point is so important, because young people need to understand this more than ever. I mean, young people more and more are growing up in fatherless homes, in homes infested with, crazy feminazis who hate men and all the rest of it. And it's like, you need to learn to enjoy life a little bit more and to take control of your own life. I just don't understand why we're not having a conversation about that. So, yeah. I want to know your views on Black Lives Matter. I wrote a piece about it on the Mail on in the Mail on Sunday. If you just type in Esther Krakue and then Mail on Sunday, you'll see. Thank you for your frank, honest, humorous approach and for taking on the leftist indoctrinating education system. You keep me sane. Thank you. Yeah, they're never gonna get me to stop. So, are you a Christian? Si, senor. Of course. Child of the Lord. Where do you see injustice in British society? What can we do about it? I think a lot of injustice in British society is actually generational. So a lot of the inequality that you see in British society. So for instance, people that talk about systemic and institutional racism in the UK, that's, can I say bullshit? That's bullshit. I think a lot of it is generational. When you come from a family of a certain, so yes, there was historic oppression and institutional oppression of members of Black and ethnic minority communities in the UK, as it was the case in most Western countries, especially places like the US. Absolutely, we don't deny that at all. But in 2020, no, and certainly not for the last even preceding 2 decades or so. I think a lot of it is generational. I think, and generational issues take time. When you have relatives, for instance, that come into this country that speak brokenish English, that don't have many formalized skills, that can only have options in kind of lower wage and lower paid jobs, it does create sort of a generational cycle of poverty, and then it creates an increasing reliance on the state, especially because in the UK we have such an extensive welfare state. That's a cycle that takes a while to break out of. I think we've made a lot of strides in that field. And there's definitely a way to go, but I don't believe in sort of framing that as sort of an equity debate, like, oh, there's this many Black or Asian people in parliament, so that shows that we have a way to go. Do you care how many Black or ethnic minority sewage drainers there are? Do you care how many women sewage drainers there are? It's not about equity, it's about equality of opportunity. I don't subscribe to this idea that everything has to be 50-50 representation or directly proportional to the population. If you're not talking about sewage drainers, I don't care. I don't want to hear you talking about bankers or CEOs or politicians, right? Because then you're pushing an agenda. I don't really care how many women are in a specific field. I actually care seeing more women having the ability to be able to stay home with their kids if they want to. I want to see people being able to live comfortably off one salary again. People don't understand that it's in the interest of large corporations to keep women in work for a lot longer than or on the same level as men, because they just make more money off them for cheaper. And I'm just like, yeah, but there's an effect on society. There's a larger effect. I know so many women that didn't want to go back to work 6 months after having a kid, but they had to. And it's really sad. And it's really straining the family as well. If both parents are out working, they don't really have that much time for each other. This is how you see marriages falling apart all the time. And I'm like, I want to be home with my man and my kids. Leave me alone. I'm gonna call you after this. I have a few more questions. Okay, just give me like half an hour because I need to have tea. I made some poppin' bolognese for the brother. Why does Turning Point UK make broad generalizations about the left? How does it help? Because the left is what the left is. And the thing is, here's the thing. When we talk about the left now, we're not talking about people with center left views, like left of center views that are fairly moderate. We're talking about what the left looks like in the UK right now. We're talking about a momentum group and people like Ash Sarkar that don't want to abolish selective schools, even though she herself went to a selective school, right? This is what we're talking about. I think a lot of the posts are meant to be funny as well. Like, I've seen a lot of Turning Point posts that are quite funny. Is Boris a Soros clone? I hope not. If he is, he's not the GQ version. Let's say that. Do you feel your skin color has held you back from your dreams? Absolutely not. By the way, I'm trying to see how far I can stretch this black don't crack thing. Like, honestly, I don't drink or anything. I drink loads of water. I try to be super healthy because I'm just like, I look at my mom, I'm like, I'm not really gonna be looking this good. Okay, we need to see. What are your thoughts on cultural marxism, branches, post-colonial theory, critical theory, third wave feminism thoughts? That's a lot of questions. I don't identify with modern feminism. I think it's crap. I think, and this is the thing, as someone who grew up in a part of the world where women have real issues, like there are women that are not educated by virtue of being a woman, modern feminism and Western feminism in particular offends me. It offends me because it's just a bunch of idle women that have nothing better to do, that really, really, honestly, just need to find a hobby or get their back cracked, if you know what I mean. Do you believe in the gender pay gap? Nope. I mean, I don't believe in it in the way, like, I don't think it's because of sort of institutional sexism or whatever. I think it's because women and men and women tend to make different choices. I actually wish they made more different choices now. I wish that there was more support for children, and for families in general. But you know, you can't really talk about stuff like that. Um, Abortion is too easy. That's the problem. Yep, that's part of it. Um, what's your view of the best way to reduce poverty in the UK? Get the family back together, get it making sense, stop attacking men, give people opportunities, open up the economy, stop regulating everything. Please, for the love of God, any government in charge, stop taxing us on, like, the basic rate of income tax is 20%, right? That's a fifth of everything that we earn. Including, we pay VAT on most things, so that's another 20% on top of everything we buy. We're taxed everything. You can't even like let your kid inherit something without, at a certain point, like 45% of it going to the state. I mean, it's just obscene. We're taxed on everything because we place so much responsibility on a useless government that can't do anything, right? I'm so sick of it. Stop taxing people to the high heavens. This is why I'm critical of both parties. I mean, the Labour and the Tory party. I'm just like, all you just do is keep taxing us. You just keep taxing us. I want to buy Prada and Gucci and Louis V. I want to look like a snack so I can stop being single and 24. Any chance of a signed photo? I don't even have any printed photos of me. Do you feel that Marxism and postmodernism will ultimately be the death of Western world? Yep, absolutely. Thought you were Candace Owens there for a second. Everyone keeps comparing me to her, and I'm like, I've never met this woman. She's hot and she's very intelligent, and I love her, but I'm not Candace Owens. Like, I'm not. The biggest injustice in Britain is the grooming gangs and the cover up of these crimes still going on to this day. Absolutely, absolutely shocking. And this is why people don't realize how toxic political correctness actually is. Um, you know, we've become so open minded that our brains are falling out of our heads. These are innocent children that were subjected to horrific abuse. Like, I don't even understand why a lot of the people convicted for these crimes are still alive. I'm not fond of the death penalty personally. I don't believe in giving the state that much responsibility. But it comes to a point where it's like, people like this, there's really no point in keeping them alive. Like, just, just like, what is the point? Why should someone like that even live? But I know it's a sensitive debate, but just does my head in. Are university students being brainwashed by Marxism from teachers? Yep, it looks like that's what all the data is showing. I don't understand how people that go to university, 90% of them overwhelmingly come out thinking a certain way. I think it's it's just obscene. The degrees don't seem to be worth it in that case. What do you think of having a flat rate of tax and scraping the different levels of tax? I think there is a sensible case to be made for a progressive tax system. I think there should be a much lower threshold. So I think people that are on lower earnings should be taxed very little or nothing at all. I think people that are earning more should be taxed a lot less. I just think the government should be in charge of a lot less. And that's the premise of my next book. I'm creating a theory where I'm analyzing having a free market perspective and a free market approach to solving a lot of social issues. So that's going to involve a lot of reading, a lot of economics, political economy, economic theory, that sort of thing. But it's definitely a challenge I'm willing to take on. What do you want to say to the rioters and looting? You're idiots, all of you. A lot of you, bunch of twats. I wish you grew up in an African home. We'll just take off our shoes and just beat you, stupid. If you could have dinner with any four historical people, who would you invite? That's such a difficult question. Historical. Okay. Martin Luther King, Winston Churchill, Rasputin, and probably Stalin. Rasputin, because I want to see if he's really as ugly as people said. Like, if he's really as ugly as people said he was, I'll just be like, I can't really eat my food. Like, you are just nasty. Um, Stalin, I don't know. I just want to see, like, what. I just want to analyze his brain a little bit more. Does it upset you when other black people call you names and criticize you for not thinking or acting in a certain way? No, because at the end of the day, I know who really has black people's interests at heart, and it's not the people calling me a coon for calling out Black Lives Matter. And in the beginning, it did upset me because like the abuse was just crazy. But I don't care. You can kiss my ass. Okay. So I think that's all the questions because I'm not seeing anything else. Someone said, "How are you?" I'm fine, thank you. I'm very hungry. How do you feel about police kneeling? I think that if you have a pair of cojones, you don't kneel to anybody unless you're proposing. What are you doing? Aller en direct avec. Oh, sorry, my phone is in French. Okay, Antonio. Antonio, you're gonna need to leave me for soon because I'm gonna need to eat. I haven't had food all day. Go on parlor. No, I'm not going on parlor. Stop asking me. I'm not getting parlor. I don't have the attention span to be on Twitter with all the crap that goes on there and then parlor as well. Um, what was your take on Kate Hopkins being banned from Twitter? I don't really care, to be honest. She's not my mother. Is that rude? I don't care. I don't care about Katie Hopkins. She doesn't know me. I don't know her. Like, okay, well, I think that's about it. Thank you so much for having me, guys. This has been really interesting. It's been good talking to you. Bye.